everyone, it's Annette with ASCardDesign. Welcome back to my channel and my live stream. I've had a couple weeks off, so I just want to make sure everybody can hear me and see me okay. So if you are here, if you're here live, go ahead and just let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay. Everything looks like it's working on my end, but of course I never know until somebody says, we can't hear you. So I'm going to just welcome everybody coming in. Tonight's card is going to be fairly simple, very easy to recreate, but I wanted to show you this technique. So I'm going to go down to the desktop here. This is the sample card. So I wanted to show you this really cool technique. So we're going to make these stunning teal heat embossed snowflakes, and you can kind of see the shine there. We're going to use kraft cardstock. So the kraft and teal really go well together for the holidays. So I thought we're going to do that tonight. And if you've ever wanted your embossing to truly pop and look professionally detailed, you're just going to love this technique. And I will do another sample using red ink. We're going to use red ink with clear embossing. So this embossing is a teal colored embossing powder, but you can really extend the your supplies really unlimited with if you have clear embossing powder, any ink color that you use, you can put that clear powder over and get the same effect. So let's just go ahead and dive in. I'm going to set this aside because that's going to be my little go-to sample. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a couple backgrounds. I didn't do that on this sample, but I do want to add a little background element to the cardstock. And we're going to do that with this snowy background stamp from Ginakdesigns. And I've used this before. And let me just go ahead and take the plastic off. And I'm just going to set it on my surface. And I know it's kind of hard to see with my black glass mat, but where my camera is positioned, I need it to be here. So we're going to put that here, and then we're going to use Ginakdesigns dark chocolate dye ink, okay, premium dye ink. And I'm going to do this for both panels because I'm making 2 cards tonight. So I just want to lay down some ink onto these dots. Just get some good coverage there, and then just put one of the panels down. And then I like to just take a paper towel and smash it. Get a good impression. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you're here, say hello in the comments so I know you're here and that you can hear me. I feel a little like a fish out of water having not had a live for 2 weeks, but you know, you just got to get back into it. But I was busy with family and traveling, and so it's good to be back home. So that's one. We're going to do the same thing with the second panel. And if you didn't have this stamp, you can get the same effect by just putting some ink down, adding a little bit of water if it's water reactive, and doing some splatting. Okay, you can do that. That's another way to get a little background. And then we'll just smash that down. Okay. And hopefully we got a good impression. Yeah. So those are our 2 panels. Okay. So we're done with the dark chocolate ink. Let me go ahead and clean this stamp off because we're done with it. And I'm just using a damp tidy towel from Ginakdesigns. You can use any kind of a lint-free towel. Okay, so that is done. And we'll get that put away and off to the side. Okay, so now I'm shedding. We're going to bring in the Misty tool. Let me go ahead and pan out just a little bit. This is a 6 by, or what is this? I don't even know. 6 by 9, I believe. But I need a larger size because we're going to set this right in the middle, and I think that's still tacky enough where it's going to stick. And then I found this stamp set in my stash. This is one of my very early purchases a couple years ago when I started crafting. It's from the Colorado Craft Company, and these snowflakes are called Nordic snowflakes right there. Nordic snowflakes. And what I want to do is I just want to take a bunch off and just position them randomly, all different sizes. We'll put a little one here maybe, and there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just getting a bunch on. That might be okay. We'll get that one right up in there. And I want them to come off of the panel as well. I may swap this one out for a little bit bigger one. And I believe I'm going to do that. What I did on the sample is I pulled this other stamp set in also. This is from Studio Light, Janine, oh goodness, I can't even read it, it's so small. Janine's Mindful Art Collection, and it's the vintage winter elements. I really like this. It's got this old school vintage font, Merry Christmas, but I did like the snowflakes on here, so I'm going to add a couple of those, or maybe one of them right down here. It's a little bit bigger. I think that's going to be good. Okay, and then we're going to just close the door and pick all those up. Okay, and I'm going to give them a good press just to make sure they're stuck. And then this is stuck. Okay, so next we're going to, since we're going to do some heat embossing, I do want to use some anti-static powder. We're just going to powder this card panel, because if we don't do that, we have a good chance of the embossing powder sticking to these little dots, and I really don't want to do that. Okay, so we have some embossing and watermark ink. This happens to be from Hero Arts. It's clear. You can use any brand. And this is just a very sticky, kind of like a glycerin feel to it. Just a real sticky ink. And we want to just make sure we get these snowflakes completely covered, because we want that embossing powder to stick. I feel like my pad's sticking to the stamps. And then we're going to drop the door down. Give it a good press. I'm kind of leaning into it because I want to make sure that embossing ink in the middle of the stamp gets transferred onto the cardstock. Okay. And I might just go in one more time, just for good measure, a little bit lighter. Okay. And drop the door. Okay, and now I'm going to bring in my catch paper. Let's get that open. I always like to get that ready before I take this panel out. And then, there goes my camera again. The embossing powder we're going to be using is from Ranger, even though my label is completely torn apart, but I believe the color, it's cut off, but I believe this is aqua teal from Ranger. Okay. Maybe that'll help. Okay, so we're going to lift the panel out of here. Sorry about that. Okay, and then we're going to dump the teal embossing powder over this clear embossing ink. So just dump it. And this teal powder, it's so pretty. It has a little, can you see the shine and shimmer? It has like glitter in it. And we're just gonna tap it off. And I'm gonna make sure these down here got it really good too. I'm just being careful where I put my fingers so I don't rub it off. Okay. All right. That is panel number one. I'm gonna carefully set that here to the side, because I'm going to do the other panel and heat emboss them both at the same time. So hopefully I don't bump it and have to redo everything that we just did. So we'll put all this powder away. And I'm going to just wipe my paper off just so I don't cross-contaminate the powders. Okay. Now, let's bring this back in. And I'm just going to wipe my stamps. I'm not going to leave them in the same position because I want to make the second card look a little bit different. I'm going to change it up just a little bit. So let's bring the second panel in. And we'll get that down. And again, I'm going to have to powder that up. But first, let's see what stamps we want to use. I want to just kind of come down in a pattern here, like a curved pattern if I can get that effect. We'll see. All you can do is try. I don't know if I can use this big one again. Let's see. Maybe if we come off the edge a little bit. Put that one there maybe. And this one here. Let's just try that. And we won't use this one. I'm not sure which stamp set this came from. I think it's the Nordic Snowflakes, but let's give this a try. So we're going to go ahead and pick this up. And again, we're going to powder the paper. Just give that a little dusting. Okay, so this one we're going to be using the clear embossing powder because we're going to add color to the ink or color to the stamps. And I am using from Ginakdesigns this beautiful red color. Hi Ashley. Yes, I'm getting better at those reminders for my lives. I'm actually thought of it later in the day and I thought, oh, I better put a reminder. So there you go. Thanks for joining. Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up. All right, so this color is red velvet. Okay. So this is how you can make any of your inks embossed just by having clear embossing powder in your stash. You don't have to buy every color of embossing powder. In fact, I have clear. I do have that teal because when I was first starting card making, thanks Ashley, you know, I thought I had to have all the things. So I bought teal because I like that color. And I bought black and I bought black sparkly, I bought iridescent. But I didn't buy a lot of different colors for some reason. And I'm glad I didn't because if you have clear embossing powder and maybe gold and silver or bronze for like holidays, that's really all you need because you can do this technique right here. So we're inking up the stamp and we'll be embossing this with clear powder. And when we heat set it, that powder will melt and you'll see the color, the red shine through. So you can do that with any color in your collection. And you can see I didn't get a very good impression there, so I need to really focus on that stamp there. All right, do this again. Give that a good press. This is a very pretty color. It looks like, it's called red velvet for a reason. It looks like red velvet cake. Or over the holidays, one of my family members made red velvet cookies. Oh goodness. I totally went off my diet during the holidays. I don't know about you all, but I sure did. But I am back in business. All right. So I'm going to leave the stamps right where they are, and I'm going to try to get these in the camera. They're covered in red ink, and I want to wipe them down. Now this red ink will stain your stamps, and that's okay. They're totally clean right now. There's no ink on them. And I want to leave everything the way it is, because the next thing we want to do is go in with a coat of the embossing ink that we did earlier. We're going to do that the same thing. Just get a little bit on here. Good coverage, because we want the embossing ink to rest on top of the dye ink. The dye ink will pick up the powder, but not like the embossing ink does. So you want to, for best results, you want to put the embossing ink on top of your dye ink or your pigment ink. Okay, now catch paper. Let's get the ink out of here. Pick you up, and we're gonna open the powder and get it covered. Just dump it right on. Don't skimp, just get a good coating on there. And then I just tap it around and then tap it off. Okay. And then I can feel it over here. So I want to, let me grab a brush, hang on. So if you see, like I can tell some of these dots from earlier, they're covered with embossing powder, even though I powdered this card first. But if you just take a brush, you could leave them on. It's just clear and it'll leave some of them shiny, but I am going to leave the powder on the dots on this section because like I said, it will, you know, it will heat set the color of those dots, which is dark chocolate. So I think that might look good. So I'm not going to brush it all away. I'm going to carefully set this aside, put the powder away, and then we're going to heat set these. And then we'll be able to get these cards together pretty fast tonight. All right. Before I go any further, I'm going to wipe off this ink off of my sticky mat in here, my grip mat, and wipe off the stamps. I'll put them away later. Okay, so they go to the floor. Let me put this aside now. Okay. So carefully bringing in the first panel. We have to heat set that. And then we'll do the second one. So let me grab my heat gun, heat tool. I'm gonna have to turn this on and let it heat up for about 15 seconds. Carefully pick this up. And I'm gonna go ahead and heat it from the underneath side. You can see it melting, I think. It takes a little while, but just make sure you go over it. That one went faster. Let me see if I can, trying to get this to be in the camera. And I'm trying to get some of these dots. I see that the powder really stuck to the background, but that's okay. Okay. All right, so that's one. And while this is still on, we're going to bring in the red, and I'm going to heat set this from the underneath because you're going to see this one, you'll be able to really see come to life. This is what lures a lot of beginner card makers into this hobby. It did me. I saw this and I was like, oh my goodness, I want to try that. That looks so cool. Okay. And then we'll go down here. I just want to make sure these dots that got the powder on them get melted. Okay, that looks really good. All right, so let me just wipe off. There's a lot of powder on this glass surface. What do you guys think? Are you team teal or team red? So let me do this justice. So this is the red velvet, but it will have this nice glossy shine on it from the embossing powder. Okay, and it's shiny. It doesn't come off. And then this is the same. This is the teal powder on clear ink. It's not doing it justice here. It is also shiny. Let me see if I go closer. But it also has a shimmer in the embossing powder. It's glittery, so it's, I don't know. I like them both. I like them both. And then you can wipe them off and get the powder off of the anti-static powder off of the panels. So I had previously cut these panels down to 3 3/4 inch by 5 inch, and that's what's gonna fit on top of the card matte layers. So I've already pre-cut just to save a lot of time. We're gonna go with the red card for that and the teal card for this. So what I did is I just went with a white matte layer. Okay, so we'll do the white with the teal. And then we'll dress up the inside too. And then for this, I also have a white panel with the red. I thought the white, red, and kraft cardstock went really well together. And then that can go on the red card base. And since this red card base is a little bit darker and probably hard to write on, I went ahead and glued a white panel on the inside. So let's, before we glue everything on and put a greeting on, let's go ahead and dress up the inside. And this is going to be super easy. I'm going to just take an acrylic block, and I need to grab one of the snowflake stamps, and let's see, the other ones are still in the misty, so I'm just going to grab this one here, and we're going to just put it on the block. Okay, whoops, sorry, that was loud. And I just want to take a very subtle color, a light colored ink, and here I'm using soft stone. This is a really pretty ink, and it's just going to give a hint of color. And let me grab a piece of scrap paper here. I have powder everywhere. I love embossing powder, and you know, I'm careful with it. I have the catch paper, but it gets everywhere when I work with it. Okay. So I just want to thank everybody for joining, and I want to give a big shout out if you're watching the replay too, to all my subscribers. You know, growing a YouTube channel, it's slow for most of us, and that's okay. You have to love what you're doing. It'll come. Don't worry about the subs, they always say. But I do, you know, periodically you look and you check and see where you are. And back in September, I finally reached 500. Now I started this about a year ago, the YouTube channel. So now I'm at around 635, I think. And you know, my next milestone is 1,000. It seems like it's going to be forever when I get there. However, one of my brothers did agree when I reach 1,000, he's going to be a guest and make a card. And he doesn't want any instructions from me. He's been watching. He knows what to do or how it works. And he's going to, I don't know what he'll create, but at 1,000 subs, he will make a card. So that'll be fun. So there's just a real subtle way to dress up the inside of a card. I know this, hold on, let me see. Let me just put this here. The camera doesn't like white. Well, it still doesn't like white, but I think you saw it. And then we're gonna just do the same with this. We're gonna stamp it directly onto the inside. Okay, and we'll just put it right here. I'm really making sure I have a good impression since I only have one chance. Let's see, the camera There we go. It's a little bit better. I wish I was really good with tech. I do the best I can, you know? I'm a one-man show here, and you just do the best. But it would be nice to be able to troubleshoot. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and glue this panel onto the matte layer. And I'm just using liquid glue. You could use tape runner. I like liquid glue just because it gives me a little wiggle room. If I don't get the margins exactly right, I can move it around. But I feel like for the most part, I'm going to put it this way. I feel like for the most part, I'm able to nail it. I'm just kind of looking at the top and the two sides. Okay. And then I'm just going to turn that over for a second. And then I have, oh my gosh, I have such a mess on my desk, you guys. I have this big old book I got at Half Price Books. Excuse me. Do you guys have a Half Price Books in your area? I love that store. You can find all kinds of, they even have stationery. They have beautiful boxed Christmas cards, but you know, they have a plethora of books on all different kinds of topics. I've gotten cookbooks there. This art book, because I really liked the pictures in it. And okay. All right. That's a little crooked. You can see what I mean with the glue. You have a little bit of time, and it could be that my panel is cut crooked. That's a possibility. All right. So let's put that under the book for now. And we will work on this card. Okay. So we'll go ahead and glue this down to the card base. I always like to put a good amount of glue on these because this is 2 layers, and I just want it, you know, you don't want the card to fall apart. Okay. And then ahead of time, I went ahead and die cut some greetings. Now this one I'm not going to use because I did this in purple. I don't think you can see that. I was doing another project, but I have this one from another stamp set called Snowy Skaters. Okay, so I had that left over from an order that I did recently, and then I have this one from, I think I have it right here on my desk. This stamp set I got last Christmas, and this is from Holiday Floral, and I'm going to use the Merry Christmas from there. Oh, hi, Andrea from Florida. Ooh, what part of Florida are you from, if you want to say? I have friends in Cocoa Beach area, and I love going down there to visit them. Beautiful state. So we'll go ahead and put the Merry Christmas here. And I die cut it twice once out of scrap paper, so you can see all the little writing on the back. That was just scrap paper to give it a little depth, make it a little more sturdy. I didn't want to use foam tape or anything on this. I just wanted to glue it down. And then this could go right in the middle. This is always the hardest part for me for card making, where to put the greeting. I always tend to go down or up, but I think I'm going to just put this one right in the middle. And I just want to look and make sure it's straight. And it does take just a minute for those to adhere, so I'm going to set that off to the side. Jacksonville. Ooh, you have beautiful beaches in Jacksonville. I remember, Andrea, this had to have been 10 or 12 years ago, maybe longer. I just wanted to get away. I wanted a long weekend, and I took a Friday off work, and I booked, I think there was a Best Western on Jacksonville Beach, and I booked a room, and I took some books, and I went down there, and I had such a great time just being quiet, sitting on the beach, reading my books, and at the time there was a, I'll never forget this, there was a surfing competition going on, and I had no idea. So there were all these surfers and television cameras, and it was a lot of fun to watch. But I'll never forget that. But I did walk around a little bit in Jacksonville, and I had a nice time. It was a beautiful city. And hello, Joan from North Carolina. Another beautiful state. We do have a beautiful country, don't you think? We do. We're having a lot of snow. We just got a big snowstorm the other day. All right, Andrea's saying, yes, you can... on the beach, on the hotels, especially with the balcony facing. Yes, I made sure I did that because I thought I'm only going to be down there for 2 days, and I wanted a good view. I wanted right on the beach, you know. I enjoyed it. I love the sound of the ocean. And I love shorebirds and all the nature that goes with it. All right, so this greeting is the Happy Holidays. And so since that one went in the middle, I think I'm going to put this one down just a little bit. All right. So here's the thing. When I reach 1,000 subscribers, and I know I will someday, and it doesn't matter to me when, but I think I need your all's help to get me there so we can get my brother here to make a card. Wouldn't that be fun? I think that'd be hilarious. And I'm going to take pictures behind the scenes of him doing it. So we'll have it documented. If my brother Mike is watching, he's probably shaking his head right now like, no, don't say that. But I did talk to him not long ago, and he said he would do it. So, all right, you guys. This was a short live, but it will live here indefinitely. So, you know, if you're watching the replay, I'm glad you're here. And these are the 2 cards tonight. So this, just in review, is a great way to use your stamps and embossing. Now this one, we used clear embossing ink with a teal glittery embossing powder. Okay, so that has a little shimmer. Okay, and then this one we just inked our stamps with red velvet ink from Ginakdesigns, and you know, you can use any color ink. And then we did the clear embossing, so it just adds the shine. And so this greeting that I showed you earlier that I wasn't going to use, I used maybe, what did I use? I have it right here because I use it all the time. From Ginakdesigns, I have a lot of her inks. It just seems like I'm not affiliated. I just have a lot of her inks. The dark lilac. So I stamped the greeting in dark lilac first, and then I went over it with the clear embossing ink and then the clear embossing powder. So you can see it's shiny, but it's purple. So just with clear embossing powder, you can make, you know, you really have every color of embossing under the sun just by having the clear and your colored inks. But those are the finished cards, and then we went ahead and finished the inside with a little snowflake. And I did that for both. And here we have a little white panel with the snowflake. So, all right. Now, YouTube takes about a day or so to process the videos, but tomorrow when they're all done on their end, I will come back in and make sure all the supplies are updated in the description. I always have them in there, and I will take some pictures and put them at on the post of the, if you go to my YouTube channel and if you scroll across, there's a section that says posts, and I usually put the cards that I make there, and any announcements too. You'll find that there. But anyway, I want to thank you all for joining. Andrea and Joan, those are you, I believe you're new faces for me here. So thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again. If you'd be so kind to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. I hope you did. And if you're not a subscriber, do subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next time I'm on. You'll see some shorter videos popping up here throughout December. And then my normal schedule is Wednesdays, we go live every Wednesday at 7, and there's a video usually on Sundays at 1 p.m. Those times are Eastern, and again, you might see additional videos here and there for the holidays. So I want to wish you all a very nice evening, and thank you for joining, and I hope to see you again soon.